Thank God it's still legal to talk about my Jesus in the public place. The night is coming, people, when no man can work. The way things are going, it may soon be illegal. The night is coming, my friend, when no man can work. I'll work the work of him that sent me while it is day now. Rise, oh sleeping soldier, rise and take your place again. Greetings, my name is Buchi and I welcome you to Kingdom Culture. Here we celebrate as we discuss the culture of our kingdom. You're most welcome. Of course, my friends are here.
Hi.
I had an experience not so long ago. My neighbor had a birthday party, her 60th birthday party.
Wow.
The old lady loves reggae music just like I do. And of course I was invited. I walked over to the place, big car park, and they had set up these large speakers and banging some big reggae tunes.
Big fat tunes.
Big fat tunes.
Big fat tunes. Yeah, can see that again.
Well, I came out there and I saw all manner of people. I saw fellow neighbors. I saw rastas. I saw musicians. I saw a man I had known, a rasta, about 60 also. In my excitement, because I hadn't seen him in a long while, I walked over to him and said, "Hey, greetings, Rasbob. What go on?" And he greeted me and turned away. I noticed it was not his usual
Sure.
cheery self. Yes. So I left him and walked away, sat down with my friends. We're in the middle of a conversation when Rasbob walked back to me. And he said to me, "Hey, Buchi, I appreciate seeing you, but please, can I talk to you in private?" I said, "Yes." I gave him audience. And Rasbob says, "Please don't do that again." I said, "What did I do?" He said, "You interrupted my worship." He was dancing to a reggae song. And he said, I interrupted his worship. People were there drinking and shouting and dancing. An open air birthday party. And this old Rasta man says, I interrupted his worship. That struck me. Because I have seen it many times in church, at many of our gatherings, even at crusades, while the music ministration is going on, I see the drummer saying something, he's playing, and he's saying something to the guitarist. They laugh, they smile, and the keyboardist is playing, and he's looking at the other person, and they're doing that kind of thing. They are exchanging banters, and in the middle of worship, and I said to myself, wow, even this man who is not a Christian understands that even his dance is worship. That's where he went that day, facing the speakers directly, and he was just going on like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. I came, tapped him, said hello to him, and walked away. I felt really sad when I thought about it. Even in the movies where we see juju priests, have you observed that when they are pouring libation, making incantations, doing those things they do in the morning, the villagers who are passing by do not even as much as greet them.
Yes,
Yeah.
Because
True.
they know that he wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
While he's doing that and doing that, people respect the fact that he is in the middle of worship. And so they don't talk to him. He doesn't talk to anyone. You do know, don't you, that if you threw a greeting at him at that time, he would not talk to you until he was through.
So strange.
But not so among my people. I heard Pastor Chris, my pastor, describe worship recently as the giving of oneself. The giving of oneself to God, you know, in submission. That's the way he described it. The giving of oneself to God in submission. Which means it has an attitude.
Yeah.
It comes with an attitude. It involves the totality of one's being. Worship is not the music. It's not the dance in itself. It's what goes on between father and son at the time that the music is going on. There may be no music going on. There would be worship going on. It saddened me greatly that outside the kingdom, I found a deeper appreciation of worship than what I have seen many do. Of course, I know that we don't all do that, but it was quite touching to know that. Have you observed this thing I'm talking about?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Very well,
We have.
Sometimes someone is ministering on stage, and the rest of the people who would not join in the worship are doing something else. The musicians among us would listen critically, not to worship, but to observe when the person goes off
And give
or
his call.
hits a certain note, and they go, wow! We're not shouting in worship.
Yeah.
We're shouting in appreciation of a skill or in criticism of the skill and the delivery. Those things ought not to be. It is profane to treat holy things that way. It is touching a holy thing wrongly. That's what it is when we treat worship that way. And I wonder how many other times you have found a certain kind of wisdom, yes, outside the kingdom. Jesus did say at a time, not even in Jerusalem have I found such faith. So there are certain of the world who in their acts demonstrate a semblance of what we should have when we worship our God. It's an act of reverence, an act of total submission. It's not something you do while you're chatting with someone, and of course you know what goes on these days. Worship is going on and people are
Pressing
pressing
their phone.
their
Yeah.
phones.
Chatting.
These things ought not to be. It shouldn't be mentioned among us.
Yeah.
You may have your Bible in your phone, all right? And that would explain going to church with your phone or bringing out your phone while service is going on.
Yeah.
But there's something called airplane mode.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
You can just use that thing for the purpose of reading your Bible or making your notes instead of distracting yourself while worship is going on. Apart from denying yourself a whole lot that is coming at that time that you could receive. It's also, is it too strong to say a slap on God's face? The one that we have come to worship. And we're pressing our phones at such times. Not even in the kingdom did I find such devotion to a dance as worship. You ever seen that before?
Actually, I would like to ask a question. Like, I'm very sure someone like me, watching this right now, would like to ask the same question I want to ask now. Like, in the midst of worship, the worship is going on in the church, and a call comes in, and the call is very, 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 very important. Like, maybe they are calling that your son just died now, this, that, and you know that you really need to pick this call, and the person goes out to pick the call. Is it a sin? Like, has the person done?
Have you ever traveled in an aircraft?
No,
Not yet.
not yet. Very soon.
All right. When you do, everyone is asked to put off their phones before the
Yeah.
plane takes off.
Yeah.
What if the call came while you were airborne? Your phone would be off. You can at least trust that while you're here with the Father, everything else concerning you will be taken care of. You're before the maker of the universe. You're before your maker. You can at least trust that every business would be taken care of. Jesus said, no one gives up anything to follow me who does not receive that thing again 100-fold. Did you ever see that in the Bible?
Yes.
That includes the businesses that may come while you are in church worshiping God. That includes all the contacts and all of those things that may come at that time. It makes simple sense to just shut that phone, shut it out, and be alone with God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. But then, in a situation whereby, no distraction, and then my heart is actually open, I've shut my heart from every distraction, and then I try worshiping, but I just feels within me that there's no connection. Like, I'm not connecting. Like, there's no distraction. I'm not thinking of anything. But deep down within me, I just feel I'm not connecting. So at that, like, what is actually missing there?
You know, the ecstasy of worship may manifest as a feeling, but in truth, it's not a feeling, it's beyond a feeling. There are acts of worship. The lifting up of our hands is one. It's both a posture of worship and an act of worship. He says every time we lift up our hands that way in worship, he begins to perceive something beautiful. Even if you don't feel anything, just the thought that you're giving him what he wants is more than enough. You are part of the worship. Okay?
Yeah.
Those are some of the things you should learn to do. And as you focus on him, don't let your mind wander away in time of worship. There are so many things that could take your heart away while worship is going on. You could choose to count the number of ceiling fans in the hall at that time. That may be the time to observe that this worship leader wore exactly this jacket last week.
True.
And all that and all that. So you have to consciously shut certain things out. We don't worship with our minds. We worship with our spirits. But the mind is a doorway to the spirit, don't forget.
Yeah.
So you need to clear it and make room for that, for a deep interaction with the Father.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if this should be a question or a comment. Just this past Sunday, while in church, during service, our service started with the worship, and the worship was going on. The whole place was getting charged up. And there was this friend of mine, not really a friend of mine, but we relate and we vibe, we talk once in a while. He was just checking out pictures on his phone, very seriously. like he was lost. He wasn't, as if he wasn't in church with us at that moment. So I was trying to concentrate on my worship, but the guy I was concerned for him. So I didn't just want to let him miss out like that. So I had to tell him, guy, how far? Drop this phone. Worship is going on and you are. And at that moment, I noticed I was kind of very stern. So I thought maybe I don't know if we can do something like that when it's necessary, or we should just let it slide when you.
I think, if you ask me, I think we should learn to to correct people nicely. If you found someone sleeping while a great teaching was going on, while a teaching was going on in church, would you let that person sleep?
No.
No. You would nudge the person and wake up that person. Because, see, what he was doing was distracting you.
Yeah, sure.
You probably didn't turn your attention to him just to help him. He was distracting you.
Yeah.
So we should nicely call people to order. Yes?
Wow.
And when you do that, other people who probably were not even concentrated would sit up.
Yeah.
Other people around would sit up. Let's not shut our eyes in the face of wrong.
Let's not
Right.
shut
Shut
our
our
eyes
in
in
the
the
face
face
of
of
wrong.
wrong.
Right, sir. Just this past Sunday, someone took up worship in the church, and everybody was charged up, and and then after the church service, we had like a meeting, leaders meeting, just the content people, and we're like, okay, this particular person should be taking worship every Sunday. Then the question raised up for me. I was like, is it necessary, or should I say, does the person has to take the worship? Is it because of the person knows how to sing? That's why, because some other people have been taking worship, though things are always just, they're not being charged up, they're just sometimes. So I'm like, is it just because of the person, how good the person is, or it's just the spirit at that time? Depends on the people, the audience, the people listening to God and listening to the song. Because I believe it's not just in the power of the person that knows how to sing. So I don't know, is it the singer that charge up the audience to be able to worship God the more, or
It is not the heart, it is not the voice that sings. It is the heart that sings to God. Our worship does not come from our voices, but it is important. It's a gift that God has given to some people. Great voices to lead others in worship. You may have a beautiful heart, love God, but you may not have the voice to carry others along. It's a gift as well. And we honor that gift. We respect that gift. So the people who know how to do it so that we're all involved, we allow them to do it. But in truth, even if you couldn't sing as well as that person, even if your voice was not as commanding as that one, you could also enjoy worship, because it is the heart that sings, not the voice. Okay?
yes, sir.
So, like the old Rasta man, do remember, worship, and according to my man of God, is the total submission,
Submission
of one's self to God. Give it your full attention. It comes with an attitude. This is something we do for our maker, our owner. This is not something we do not share. We would not let anything share our attention at that time. That's what our worship, that's how much our worship means to us and to him.
I would like to ask a question. Most people believe that worship has to be slow, while praise has to be very fast, they have to dance to it. So I would like you to please differentiate worship and praise.
that would take, apart from the fact that that would take another edition of Kingdom Culture, apart from the fact that our pastor has also taught us
Yeah.
what it is.
Yes.
For the benefit of those who are listening, let me very quickly say that worship is not about the tempo of the song. It's about the content and the attitude. In worship, you don't sing for God. You don't sing about God. You sing to God. And as you do so, you give yourself totally to Him in submission. All right? Yeah. That's what worship is about. And of course, praise is about extolling His virtues, His greatness, His beauty, and all that He means to us, even as the name suggests.
Woo! Glory! I'm blessed.
The way you scream. Do you sing?
No.
Everyone
sings.
Yeah.
Maybe in the kitchen or in the bathroom or somewhere.
Yeah.
Everyone sings. Emily,
Yeah.
you sing, don't you? A worship song?
Okay, I think I got some.
How can I live without your love? How can I breathe without your touch?
How can I
live without your word? How I love you.
God bless you. See you next time on Kingdom Culture.
Culture.
Sheesh.
Thank God it's still legal to talk about my Jesus in the public place. The night is coming, people, when no man can work. The way things are going, it may soon be illegal. The night is coming, my friend, when no man can work. I'll work the work of Him that sent me while it is day.